After 3 awkward dates, she revealed a shocking truth. His life-changing response left her stunned. Sarah sat at the diner booth, the smell of greasy fries and fresh coffee swirling thick in the air. In that moment, she felt like she was on another planet compared to Ryan, who sat across from her, blissfully unaware. The buzzing of conversations and clattering of dishes were mere background noise to the tumult inside her head. 3 dates in, and she was bursting with secrets like a shaken soda can. If only he knew. As they animatedly discussed his latest coding project, she could see the disconnect, the way his eyes sparkled with excitement about something that felt so distant from her reality. It wasn't that Ryan was a bad guy. He was charming and kind, but so caught up in his tech world. Meanwhile, back at home, her mom was slipping away under the weight of bills and illness. During dinner, she watched the couples around them, the laughter, the loving nudges, the carefree banter. It pulled at her heart like an unfinished song. She was living a reality wrapped in layers of hardship. Her own mother's illness loomed like a dark cloud over her world. Every day felt like she was juggling job shifts while trying to make dinner reminders. The American dream felt more like a nightmare when you could barely pay rent. "I just don't get it," Ryan said with a laugh, oblivious to her inner chaos. "How can you enjoy that cheesy horror flick? It's so bad. Because sometimes bad is good, you know?" She replied, forcing a smile around the sharp edge of her anxiety. But her pulse quickened. It was time to come clean. She straightened her shoulders, gathering courage like armor against the fear that clung to her skin. "I need to tell you something," she finally blurted out, her heart racing like a runaway train. "My family, we're in deep trouble. We might get evicted soon." The truth spilled out of her like a tidal wave. She braced herself for the confusion on his face, anticipating the impossible discomfort. At first, there was silence. Stunned silence. Her chest tightened, fear gripping her as she wondered if she had just crossed an invisible line between their worlds. "I didn't he know?" Ryan stuttered, his brow furrowing. She felt a familiar twinge of dread settle in. Another person shaken by the realities of life. "You always have time for a project like this while I'm just trying to keep my family afloat," she thought. But then he leaned in closer, his sincerity piercing through her despair. "Actually, I quit my tech job to create a nonprofit for families in need," he confessed, his intensity matching her own. His words hung heavy in the air. "I want to help people like you." For a moment, the weight of their separate worlds seemed to blur. Hope flickered in her chest, igniting a gentle fire. They were more alike than she'd thought. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." A deep bond formed over fries and milkshakes that night, pulsating with newfound purpose. Determined, they plotted their next steps, rallying support for her family, confronting hardships together. But as they navigated reactions in her community, they faced biases that tugged hard at their hearts, revealing cracks in their understanding. Fierce discussions began in local meetings about privilege and support. Through laughter, they unearthed layers of vulnerability. Sarah felt raw emotion morph into tentative connections, each battle infusing their mission with greater depth. But then, a local figure questioned Sarah's character, stoking doubts about her worth. Her heart raced, eyes brimming with tears. If only Ryan could stand by her, fortify her shaky spirit in that fractured moment. Would he? Would they hold on to this hope together? The murmur of the diner faded as Sarah's heart pounded in her chest. She wiped away a tear before it fell, trying to keep it together. Ryan's expression shifted, concern washed over his face. It was a look of genuine care, and for a moment, the chaos of the world around them fell silent. "Sarah, I'm here for you. We'll figure this out together," he said quietly, reaching across the table, his warm hand covering hers. His touch was grounding, but the doubt lingered. What did he really know about her struggles? She had tried to juggle her mother's mounting medical bills and her responsibilities. Now, with this newfound alliance, the burden felt slightly lighter, but she couldn't help but wonder, was he really prepared to take on her reality? I appreciate that, Ryan. But she hesitated, searching his eyes for understanding. But it's not just bills, it's life. Everything feels so unfair, and I'm scared. He sat up a little straighter, leaning in as if the very essence of her fear mattered deeply to him. Scared is okay. It's a part of this, he said, his sincerity wrapping around her like a warm blanket. But what if we turned that fear into something positive? What if we created a solution together? Sarah took a breath, swallowing the knot swelling in her throat. Together? It sounded beautiful, but was it realistic? Could someone like him really step into her messy life without being overwhelmed? The scene shifted as their conversation continued. They brainstormed ways to bring awareness to her plight. Ryan's passion was infectious. He painted a vision of community support, resources, and hope. The way he spoke made her feel like possibilities were blossoming right there in the dimly lit diner. When he suggested organizing a fundraiser, her heart fluttered. People care, Sarah. We just need to show them how, Ryan said fervently, scribbling ideas on a napkin. As he wrote, his energy sparked something inside her, a flicker of hope that felt both thrilling and terrifying. But then, from the far side of the room, a sharp voice piped up, cutting through their bubble like a knife. You think this is just a charity case, don't you? A woman pointed at Sarah, her disdain smeared across her face. What makes you special enough for that kind of help? The words hung in the air, acrid and bitter. Sarah's stomach twisted, and dread rushed in. In that moment, all reason crumbled. Ryan turned to her, his expression shifting from shock to determination. Hey, don't listen to that. You're strong. You deserve help. We all do. But Sarah felt the weight of the accusation tugging at her confidence. What if she's right? She whispered, her voice small, as a panic tightened its grip around her heart. I mean, what if I'm just seen as someone needing pity? No, you're not. It takes courage to admit when you need support, Ryan insisted softly. His commitment shone through his words, enveloping her in warmth. As they left the diner, the world felt eerily different. The night air was heavy with possibilities, but shadows of doubt still lurked around the edges of her mind. Sarah turned to Ryan, searching for assurance. Would he really stay by her side when things got tougher, when whispers echoed louder? The next few days would test them both. As challenges loomed, she couldn't shake the feeling that judgment awaited her in every corner. Would their bond withstand the pressure? Amid her swirling worries, one thing was clear. This journey about to unfold could either fracture their connection or cement it. With Ryan at her side, Sarah was determined to face whatever came next, but there was one question that loomed larger than all the others. Would love be strong enough to conquer adversity, or would it buckle under the weight of their realities? The days crawled by, their rhythm marked by a tension that filled the air as Sarah tried to navigate the unfamiliar territory of her newfound partnership with Ryan. Each morning, she woke hoping for clarity, only to be greeted by the same relentless thoughts swirling in her mind. Are we really going to make this work? She wondered as she stood before the mirror, every shadow in her reflection reminding her of the struggle ahead. She couldn't distract herself with superficialities anymore. The stakes had risen. Would Ryan really see her beyond the chaos? Or would her burdens scare him away? On their way to the community center where they had decided to host the fundraiser, Sarah felt a knot of anxiety tightening. Ryan parked the car, turned to her, and smiled a bright, reassuring smile that made her heart flutter, even against her better judgment. You okay? He asked, his eyes searching hers. I'm fine. The lie slipped past her lips, light as a feather, but the weight of her worry sat heavily in her belly. As they entered the community center, the atmosphere buzzed with nervous energy. Volunteers milled about, each one with a segment of the plan in motion. Tables were being set up, posters hung, and a steady hum of chatter filled the air. But amidst the hustle, Sarah felt like a deer in headlights. The reality of her situation loomed larger than the decorations surrounding her. They set to work, and Ryan's enthusiasm was contagious. With every task completed, a little piece of her doubt started to fade. He would nod encouragingly as Sarah translated her mother's story into flyers, highlighting the urgency of their cause. Each word she typed felt like it held weight: her mother's struggle, their love, the community they sought to rally. But then she would catch herself. What if they see me as just a sob story? The thought gnawed at her, just as she was lost in her doubts. A familiar face from the diner appeared, a face she had hoped to avoid. The woman with the sharp voice. The one who had pierced through her moment of vulnerability. Sarah's stomach dropped. Would the judgment return, this time more pronounced? "Oh look, it's the princess and her charity project," the woman said, her voice laced with sarcasm. "Not here for a fight," Ryan interjected, stepping closer to Sarah, protectively. His presence fortified her, but she remained shaken. "Why not, Ryan?" the woman prodded, her gaze cold. "You really think this will work? She'll just be another mouth to feed when it all falls apart." Sarah's breath hitched, the panic clawing its way back. But then something changed. Ryan turned, placing a hand gently on Sarah's shoulder. "What we're doing here is about hope and community," he stated firmly, his voice rising above the murmur of disbelief. "Why can't we give people the chance to rise above their struggles?" The woman scoffed, clearly unimpressed, but Sarah felt the lift of her spirit. In that moment, Ryan wasn't just standing beside her, he was advocating for her. As the evening unfolded, Sarah's heart began to mend. Conversations flowed, laughter echoed, and each moment felt like a step closer to transforming her fears into something tangible. The more they spoke about her mother's fight, the more she realized she wasn't alone anymore. But as the fundraiser approached its climax, a phone buzzed in her pocket. It was a text from her brother. "Mom's health is declining faster than we thought. We need to make decisions now." The world around her blurred. Panic threatened to drown out the evening's energy, and she clutched Ryan's arm tightly. Could they really get through this together? "Sarah?" His voice reached her, breaking through the noise. "What's wrong?" She hesitated, the weight of her reality wrapping around her like a suffocating blanket. Could she share this fracture with Ryan? Could he handle the worst of it? Just as she opened her mouth to speak, a realization washed over her. This was the moment that could either break them or bind them tighter. Would she risk everything to trust him completely? As the event wound down and the last donations rolled in, a decision loomed. Would she let Ryan in, or would she withdraw into her familiar chaos? In that moment, so many questions hung in the air, ready to be answered. But she knew one thing for sure. It was time for truth. Was she brave enough to take that leap? And with that thought, Sarah took a deep breath, her eyes locking with Ryan's, ready to unveil her heart. Just as the night fell, Sarah felt her heart pounding in her chest, the weight of her brother's message reverberating in her mind. She could see uncertainty flicker in Ryan's eyes as he waited for her response, his brow furrowed in concern. "Sarah?" he repeated, his voice gentle, yet insistent. How could she tell him the truth? The reality of her mom's health felt like heavy stones sinking her spirit deeper into the ground. She opened her mouth, hesitated, and finally whispered, "My mom, she's not doing well. The doctors are saying." The sentence hung in the air, a fragile thread connecting her to Ryan. He leaned closer, his expression shifting from concern to determination. "What can we do?" The urgency in his voice surprised her. It was as if the moment they were in transformed from a casual fundraising event into a defining moment of their lives. The whistle of air filled her lungs, and she suddenly felt the weight of fear shift into something more. "We have to decide on treatment options. I don't know how much longer we have. My brother needs me to make a choice," she confessed, her voice shaky. Tears pricked at her eyes. "And I don't know what that looks like. I'm scared." Ryan took a moment before he responded, processing her words. Then he placed both hands on her arms, grounding her. "You're not alone, Sarah. Not in this. We'll figure it out together." Those words echoed in her mind like a mantra. Together. The thought was both foreign and comforting. For so long, it had been just her and her mother against the world. The realization that she could lean on someone else felt like 1,000 pounds lifting off her shoulders. "Together?" she repeated, her voice softer now, almost hopeful. "Absolutely," he affirmed, nodding earnestly. "If your brother is asking for support, then you need to be there for him. And I'll be there for both of you." A rush of gratitude washed over her. She didn't expect him to step into this new turmoil so readily. But what if she started, then faltered? Could she truly let him in after everything she feared? No what-ifs. Just us moving forward, Ryan insisted, a glint of resolve shining in his eyes. Sarah took a breath, feeling the crack in the wall she built around her heart begin to widen. She could choose vulnerability. "Okay," she whispered, while the crowd around them faded into a blur of indistinguishable faces and sounds. Just then, a playful shout broke through the moment. Did someone say forward? What is the plan, team? It was Jessica, their energetic friend from the organizing committee. She broke into their bubble, her smile bright and oblivious to the gravity of Sarah's turmoil. Ryan visibly relaxed, thankful for the distraction. Hey Jess, we were just brainstorming how to take this into the next phase, he replied, glancing at Sarah encouragingly, as if prompting her to join in. As they shared ideas, the space around them filled with laughter and animated chatter once more. Sarah felt lighter, the conversation flowing more easily than she anticipated. Being part of this bustling energy made her realize that maybe, in sharing her burdens, she wasn't also just becoming a burden herself. Yet, beneath the surface brightness of the evening, a fear lingered. The thought of her mother's declining health lurked in the back of her mind like a storm cloud that could burst at any moment. Would she really have the strength to harness this support? The night rolled on, and Sarah found herself lost in worries about the future. As they wrapped things up and headed toward the parking lot, she turned to Ryan, who was still by her side with that warm, reassuring smile. Are you sure you're okay with this? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. I mean, my family and everything. Of course, he said, genuine and steady. Just remember, you don't have to pretend with me. We're in this for the long haul, right? His words filled her with a mix of relief and trepidation, as if they had just crossed a threshold into uncharted territory. The boundaries of their relationship were shifting in an unexpected direction. Would they build a bridge strong enough to handle the weight of her fears? Just as she was about to respond, a voice from behind shouted, Hey Ryan, do you have a minute? I need to talk about something really important. The interruption pulled her back into reality. She glanced over at Ryan, who turned, visibly startled by the sudden demand. She felt a familiar unease creep back in. Despite their moment of connection, would she be left hanging again in this whirlwind? As Ryan walked away, Sarah's heart sank. Gathering the courage she had just uncovered felt suddenly complex. Would she be able to leap into the unknown, into this new bond, or was it too soon? With one last look towards Ryan, Sarah knew she had to make a choice. Would she wait for him to return, or push forward alone into the uncertainty that lay ahead? And there it was again, the question that clung to the evening's uncertainty. Maybe the leap was still waiting to be taken, but the ground beneath her was now more certain than before. Could this leap lead her towards something she never imagined? The streets felt colder as Sarah walked to her car, the chill nipping at her cheeks. She fumbled for her keys, her thoughts racing. Ryan had just left her in the swirl of conversation and camaraderie, and now, she was left to sort her tangled emotions alone. Her heartbeat pulsed in her ears, loud and insistent. What had just happened? For a fleeting moment, she felt an affinity with Ryan, something almost fragile yet beautiful. But with his sudden departure, that warmth shriveled, leaving behind a void filled with doubt. She climbed into her car and sat still for a moment, the engine silent. The world outside blurred. She imagined telling her brother about Ryan. What would he say? Would he support her? Or would he worry that she'd leaned too much on someone who might not stay? A memory stirred, one of her brother's laughter echoing through their home, the two of them throwing popcorn at the TV during movie nights. He always had a way of making her feel safe. But this time, sharing her new bond with Ryan felt daunting. A sense of panic clawed at her stomach. Did she dare to let someone else in? Gazing through the windshield, she made a decision. Before her mind could process what it was doing, she reached for her phone and typed a quick message to Ryan. Can we talk later? It felt like casting a message in a bottle, hopeful yet uncertain. Minutes passed while she waited for a response, her thumb hovering above the screen, eager yet anxious. Just as she began to doubt her choice, her phone chimed, jolting her. Of course, I'll call you in a bit. His words felt like a lifebuoy thrown into turbulent waters. Sarah's heart swelled slightly, but anxiety quickly cushioned that joy. What if he saw her as more of a burden than someone worth his time? She shook her head, casting away the negativity. She had to stay focused on the reason behind this newfound strength, her mom. With that thought anchoring her, she drove home. The familiar route felt oddly foreign, the flickering streetlights guiding her through a maze of worries. She needed to figure out what to say, how to express the whirlwind of emotions swirling inside her as she pulled into the driveway. The house loomed in front of her, shadows dancing across the windows. It was so easy late at night to get wrapped up in fear and dread. But the hospital had given her options. She held power in her hands, along with Ryan's unwavering support. Could she allow herself to feel that sense of power? Inside, the comforting aroma of pasta filled the air. Her brother was in the kitchen, tools clanging. "Hey there," he called, looking up with a broad smile that warmed her heart despite her unease. "There's plenty if you're hungry," he offered, gesturing towards a plate piled high. She smiled back, but her mind raced. She wasn't sure she could eat not now. "Can we talk?" she asked, the tension in her voice undeniable. "Sure, what's up?" He turned off the stove and leaned against the counter, concern etching his features. Sarah felt the familiar weight of the world pressing down on her chest. "I've been thinking about Mom, and things are getting serious." As she delved into the details, the choices she faced, her struggles, and how Ryan had stepped in, she felt her walls begin to crumble. Her brother listened intently, his eyes focused, offering her understanding instead of judgment. When she finished, silence filled the room, thick and heavy. "Wow, I didn't realize things were so tough," he finally said, his tone serious. "But I'm glad you're not alone in this. Ryan sounds like a good guy. You're not shutting him out, are you?" "I want to trust him," but she paused as doubts fluttered back in. Her brother stood firm, nodding as if he understood her fears. "Let him in, Sarah. You have to let someone help, for Mom's sake, for yours, and maybe for his, too." Just then, her phone lit up, Ryan's name flashing across the screen. A mix of excitement and dread surged through her. Could she open this door wide enough to let them both in? With her heart racing, she stared at the phone, the familiar weight of uncertainty dancing in her chest. Was she ready to embrace help and connection, or would she hesitate and let it slip away? Taking a deep breath, she tapped the answer button. The moment had arrived. Would it lead her into light or back to shadows? "Hey, Sarah," Ryan's voice came through the phone, warm and familiar, wrapping around her like a comforting blanket. It anchored her in the chaos swirling inside her mind. "Hi, Ryan," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "Thanks for reaching out. I was just thinking about you," he said, and she could hear the genuine tone behind his words. It made her heart flutter despite the nerves tightening her stomach. There was a brief pause, a silence that felt heavy with possibility. She could feel her brother watching her, his presence steadying her as she fought through the moment's awkward gravity. "I wanted to talk about what we discussed earlier," Ryan continued, his voice steady. "I know it's a lot to take in, and I want you to feel safe sharing with me." She inhaled, the weight of his understanding sweeping through her. "Thank you, it's just everything feels so overwhelming." "Do you want to start from the beginning?" he offered gently. "Yeah, I guess I'm just scared for my mom and for me," she confessed, her voice cracking slightly. The words tumbled out, the floodgate crashing open. "The doctors say she needs treatment, and I know what that means, but I don't know how to handle it." Ryan listened intently, and for a heartbeat, she imagined him sitting across from her, hand on hers, giving her the strength she desperately searched for. "I can't pretend I know what it's like," he finally said, his voice calm. "But I do know that you're strong, Sarah. You've handled so much already. Maybe accepting help is a sign of strength, too." Hearing that was like a beacon of light cutting through her fog. "It just feels so hard to let someone in. What's the worst that could happen?" he asked softly. "Maybe that I open up and they leave," she said, her vulnerability bare. She felt exposed, but also relieved. "I wouldn't leave, Sarah," Ryan replied, his voice unwavering. "You don't have to do this alone. Not with me." His words sank deep, softening the barriers she had built around her heart. "I appreciate that. I really do. So, what can I do to help right now?" His question felt genuine, like a lifeline. "I guess just knowing you're here makes it a little easier." "Good. We can take baby steps," he encouraged. "Why don't we start by having a proper dinner together? Just us? It might help to take a break from all the serious stuff and have a little fun. I promise I won't make it awkward," he joked lightly, the hint of laughter lacing his tone. A smile crept onto her face. "Okay, I think I'd like that. To take a break from everything." They chatted a bit more, planning out details while her brother's steady presence lingered in the background, a silent champion of support. With every laugh and shared story, She felt herself almost daring to hope. But right before she ended the call, Ryan's tone shifted slightly, a hint of seriousness creeping back in. "Just one more thing, Sarah," he said, his voice dropping lower. "Be open with me, okay? No matter how hard it gets, I can take it. I want to be there for you." There was something profound in his declaration, grounding yet profound. "Thank you, Ryan. I will." They ended the call, and her heart thrummed in her chest. A mix of excitement and apprehension danced within her core. Could she truly open up? "Are you okay?" her brother asked, bringing her back into the moment, his eyes searching her face. I really think I might be," she replied, the uncertainty lifting just a fraction. But just as hope blossomed, doubt nudged at her again. Was she really ready to let someone in, especially now that everything seemed so fragile? Her phone pinged with a message. It was Ryan again. "Let us make a plan to get together soon. I'll bring dessert." Just as she was about to respond, her phone screen faded, replaced by a news alert. Her breath caught in her throat. The headline blared, "Local hospital on lockdown after mysterious incident." Her heart sank, the flicker of hope dimming as fear filled the space in her chest. Was her mom still safe? Was this a warning of more hardships to come? With a mix of dread and determination, she steeled herself to face whatever it was, knowing now that she wouldn't have to do it alone. Could Ryan's support be enough to weather this storm? She stared at the screen, the bright red headlines flashing urgency that made her stomach twist in knots. "Lockdown," she whispered, barely able to form the words. Panic threatened to spiral out of control. What was happening? She couldn't shake the image of her mother in the hospital, vulnerable and unaware of the chaos outside. "Sarah?" Her brother's voice pulled her back, grounding her. "I just saw the news about the hospital," she managed to say, her voice shaking. "What if Mom is there?" Ryan's expression shifted, his worry palpable. "We'll find out. Let us check together, call for updates. Don't panic yet." He stepped closer as she took a deep breath, trying to focus through the haze of fear. She nodded, forcing herself to calm, but her thoughts raced like wildfire. The last thing she wanted was for her mom to be caught in something dangerous. Picking up her phone, she scrolled through the messages, searching desperately for any sign of reassurance. "Let us do this," she murmured. She hit dial and waited, her heart hammering against her ribs with each ring. He stood beside her, his presence steady, an anchor in the storm swirling within. Finally, the call connected, and they were greeted by a busy hospital administrator. "The hospital is on lockdown due to a safety concern. We can't disclose any further information regarding patients at this time." The words hit her like a punch. Unable to process, tears sprang to her eyes. "Is my mom okay?" she blurted, desperation clinging to each syllable. "Please hold for a moment," the voice faded. The hold music played monotonously, each note punctuating the silence that felt all-consuming. "Stay with me, Sarah," Ryan urged gently, rubbing her shoulder. "God, what if something happened?" The words tumbled out, raw and unfiltered. "What if she gets hurt, and I don't even know? I know it's hard, but losing it won't help. Let us think through this." He offered a small smile, trying to lift the weight enveloping them. "We can wait. We'll make sure she is okay." But the dread curled in the back of her mind, twisting her stomach tighter. If her mom was in danger, would Ryan really be right there for her when she needed him the most? The thought terrified her even more than the uncertainty of her mom's safety. Just when her anxiety threatened to swallow her whole, a familiar ringtone broke through the tension. She grabbed her phone, her heart quickening as she saw the name flashing on the screen. "Mom." She picked up instantly, feeling the rush of relief wash over her. "Sarah, honey, are you okay?" Her mother's voice rang through the line, the warmth of it pulling her from the edge of despair. "Yes. I was worried sick. What is happening?" There was silence on the other end, a pause pregnant with tension before her mom's voice finally broke through. "I'm fine, sweetheart, but..." The single word hung in the air, heavy with uncertainty. Ryan's eyes widened, and he leaned closer, fully engaged now. The pause dragged on, her heart pounding louder with each second, as her mom continued. "There was an incident. I'm safe, but I'm stuck here until they clear things up." Relief burst forth like a dam breaking, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Thank God. I love you, Sarah. Don't worry. I'll be right here," she assured, feeling lighter. "Just please stay safe. I'll call you back soon. After ending the call, she met Ryan's gaze, elation and a hint of fear intertwined within her. She's okay, but we need to find out what is going on. Let us check the news. Maybe it will help. They turned together to look at the blurred images streaming across the screen, apprehension tinging the atmosphere. But when the next headline rolled through, one that detailed a shooting, a collective gasp echoed from the newscaster. Sarah, Ryan breathed, his expression hardening. We need to do something. That familiar twist of anxiety returned. But this time, there was also a spark of determination igniting within her. Yes, we do, she replied, her voice steady. Maybe it was time to open up even more, to harness the strength Ryan reminded her she had. What would happen next? Would they uncover the truth behind the lockdown? And why did she feel like it was time to confront not just the danger outside, but the feelings she had been dodging inside? The air felt electric, charged with anxiety and uncertainty as Sarah and Ryan stood before the flickering screen. The news continued to unfold, every image flashing a stark reminder of the chaos happening just outside the hospital walls. The shooting, the lockdown, it all felt surreal, as if they were trapped in a terrible dream. Did you hear that? Ryan said suddenly, his expression shifting from concern to urgency. We should check online. Maybe there are updates on social media. Sarah nodded, her fingers trembling as she pulled up a search bar. Her heart raced, not just with fear, but with determination. They couldn't let this consume them. They needed to act. Scrolling through Twitter and Facebook, she scanned for any reliable updates, each post blurring together like the images on the screen. Most were filled with shock and confusion, but a few stood out. I'm in the hospital, one tweet read, followed by a flood of emojis and comments. Another post claimed that a group of nurses were barricading themselves to protect patients. Look, she exclaimed, turning the phone towards Ryan. People are stuck inside. Some are even helping each other. Your mom is good at staying calm in emergencies, Ryan added, a hint of hope lacing his words. If anyone can handle this, it's her. He reached over and squeezed her shoulder, the gesture grounding her, igniting a fire within. I know, Sarah said, swallowing hard. But what if it escalates? Our mom is a nurse. What if she is caught in this? As if sensing her thoughts, Ryan leaned in closer. Let us get to the hospital. We can't just sit here. The gravity of their situation settled heavily around them. Getting to the hospital was a risk, but remaining idle felt worse. You really think we should? She asked, searching his eyes for reassurance. If we don't try, we'll regret it, Ryan replied, determination etched into his features. Besides, it's what she'd want us to do, fight for her. Fueled by a sudden surge of adrenaline, Sarah took a deep breath, letting the warmth of her brother's conviction seep in. Okay, let us do it. They rushed to grab their jackets, both unexpectedly energized by a sense of purpose. Outside, sirens echoed through the streets, a haunting reminder of the brewing storm. As they navigated their neighborhood, it felt surreal, the world continuing to move at alarming speed while they stood on the precipice of fear. Do you remember last summer? Ryan asked, trying to lighten the mood as they walked. Remember that game we played where we pretended to be heroes? A soft smile broke through Sarah's tension, the memory illuminating their path. Yeah, we swore we'd save everyone. Here we are, just like in the game, he joked. And we're going to save Mom. No cape needed. Her heart fluttered slightly, both amused and comforted by his attempt to shift her focus away from anxiety. As they drew closer to the hospital, adrenaline took over, but so did a fresh knot of dread. It felt unbearable to think of what lay ahead. Once on the street, the sight of police cars and news vans surrounded the hospital created a lock against entry. It felt barricaded and distant, striking fear into her heart. How do we even get in? She scanned the chaos, searching for a way through. We can't give up. There has to be someone inside who can help us. Ryan's voice resonated with conviction, pulling her from her spiraling thoughts. They both approached a group of onlookers gathered a little further down the street, the murmur of voices mixing with the pulsating flash of police lights. What are they saying? Sarah whispered, her heart pounding, as she turned towards a man in a gray coat talking animatedly to a group. He's saying the SWAT team is inside, working to secure the area, one woman replied, sunshine breaking through her worry for just a moment. Secure the area? Ryan echoed, panic bubbling in his voice. What does that mean for the people in there? They both exchanged a glance, the weight of their fears rebuilding. Suddenly, a loud bang echoed in the distance. The collective gasps and hurried whispers swept through the crowd like a tidal wave. Sarah held her breath, eyes snapping towards the noise. What was that? The crowd shifted, a wave of murmurs igniting around them. We need to be careful, it's not safe here. But her instinct to push forward was strong. I can't just stand here, Ryan. The determination in her voice took shape again, battling the panic rising within. Let us get closer, see if we can find someone to talk to, he said decisively, leading the charge. With hearts pounding and resolve ignited, they maneuvered through the crowd, the urgency of the situation fueling every step. The moment felt like a cliffhanger. They were on the brink of encountering something that would change everything. What awaited them inside the hospital? Would they find their mother, safe and sound, or would they uncover truths that would shake their world to its core? Would they be ready for whatever lay ahead? The closer they got to the hospital, the more the fear twisted in Sarah's stomach. She could hardly ignore the thuds of her heart echoing in her ears, a reminder of everything riding on this moment. Ryan stayed close, not just for support, but seeking a companionship that felt vulnerable yet necessary in the chaos. Look, he said, motioning towards a security guard standing by a barricade. Maybe he can tell us something. They approached cautiously, the guard's stern face working to keep the crowd at bay. Sarah took a deep breath, mustering her courage. Excuse me, she began, her voice shaking slightly. We need to get in. Our mom is a nurse here, and we have to find her. The guard's eyes softened but remained resolute. I can't let anyone in right now. The situation is still unstable. Please, Ryan interjected, we have to find her. She could be in danger. His words hung in the air, desperate and raw. The guard shifted slightly, caught between his duty and the visible worry of the siblings. I understand, but it's dangerous in there, he replied, his voice quieter now. How about you wait here? I'll see if I can get someone to check on her. Thank you, Sarah breathed, relief washing over her even as worry clawed at her throat. They stepped back, trying to assess their surroundings as the guard moved away, eyes scanning the commotion. The thrumming pulse of uncertainty was palpable, and as moments stretched, frustration mingled with anxiety. What if their mother needed them? What if they were powerless to help? Suddenly, the loud bang they had heard moments earlier was followed by urgent shouts. A wave of panic rippled through the crowd. They're evacuating. Someone screamed, and the world froze. Sarah's heart dropped. Evacuating? What is happening? She grasped Ryan's arm tightly, bracing herself for impact. Stay calm, Ryan urged, though his face betrayed his own worry. He quickly turned to get a better view of the hospital entrance as people began spilling out. Faces were pale and drawn, some crying. Where are the doctors? Where's Mom? Sarah's voice broke, her throat dry. Look, Ryan shouted. He spotted a figure rushing towards them, an emergency personnel uniform, slightly disheveled but unmistakable. Is it her? He asked, heart racing with hopeful anticipation as the figure neared. As they strained to see, relief surged through them. It was a nurse, sweat glistening on her brow and panic evident in her eyes. Everyone stay back, she shouted, ushering people to move. Please, what is going on? Sarah cried out, trying to break through the noise. The situation was worse than we thought, the nurse said breathlessly. There have been hostages taken. They're urging for a lockdown, but some of the staff is still inside. A wave of despair crashed over Sarah and Ryan. Their mother could be in there, trapped in the madness. Where's Mom? Sarah demanded. The nurse hesitated, her gaze flickering back towards the chaos. I don't know, please. We need to find her. Ryan's voice rose, panic swelling. Listen, the nurse stepped closer. I have to get these people to safety, but I'll do what I can to find your mom. Just stay here, okay? As she turned to leave, Sarah felt a surge of helplessness. Wait, she yelled. What if you can't? With those words, the reality of their situation crashed down. There were no guarantees, no promises, just uncertainty. What do we do? Ryan whispered, his youthful face pale with fear. Before Sarah could answer, the guard returned. You too. He barked, urgency in his tone. Come with me. Without hesitation, they followed, hearts thrumming in sync like war drums. Through the crowd, they moved closer towards the locked doors, wondering if they would find the answers they desperately sought, or if they would be met with more heartache. But as they approached, Sarah noticed something strange through a side window. Shadows flitted across the floor. Not just one, but several figures. What is going on in there? She murmured aloud, her dread deepening. Ryan glanced at her, his face a mix of concern and fear. Whatever it is, it's not over yet. Was their mother truly still safe inside, or had they just walked headfirst into something much bigger than they had imagined? As they stood before the ominous hospital entrance, Sarah's heart pounded louder than ever. Reality washed over her in wave after wave, and uncertainty clung to the air like thick fog. The swirling chaos of voices from the crowd, the flashing lights of emergency vehicles, and the stark fear in Ryan's eyes combined to create a tempest she could hardly bear. The guard led them through the entrance, urgency marking every step. Sarah's feet felt heavy, as if dragging through molasses. "Stay close to me," he instructed, glancing down the corridor. The silence felt surreal, amplified by their hurried breaths. "Where do we go now?" Sarah whispered, unable to contain the tremor in her voice. "Just hold on," the guard replied, his expression a mask of determination. "We need to find someone who can help." They rounded a corner, and their eyes widened in disbelief at the sight. The waiting area was filled with frantic nurses and doctors, organizing themselves under demanding circumstances. "Keep moving," the guard urged, leading them further inside. The corridor felt thick with tension as they navigated toward a group huddled around a desk, their faces etched with concern. Sarah felt the walls closing in, a sensation both suffocating and invigorating. "Excuse me," the guard shouted as they approached. He quickly explained the urgency of the situation, pointing at Sarah and Ryan. "These two are trying to find their mom. She works here." Everyone around turned their attention to them, and the air felt electrified. A nurse stepped forward, her eyes softening at their fear. "What is your mother's name?" "Her name is Linda," Sarah replied, her heart racing. It felt so big, saying it out loud. "She is a nurse." The nurse's eyes narrowed slightly as she nodded and began typing on her phone. Her fingers moved quickly, and Sarah could almost hear the thoughts colliding with her frantic energy. "We'll find her, I promise," the nurse assured them, trying to weave a thread of calm through their mounting anxiety. But just as hope flickered, a loud crash echoed down the hall, sending a chill down Sarah's spine. The crowd murmured, anticipation and fear intertwining. The nurse glanced back toward the noise, instinctively moving closer to the source. "Stay here, both of you. I'll be right back," she said firmly. As the nurse disappeared down the hall, Sarah felt the panic rising again. "What if she is not safe?" she hissed, gripping Ryan's arm. "We just have to hold on, Sarah. They're trained for this," he reassured, though his own voice wavered slightly. Suddenly, a figure appeared through the thickening haze of uncertainty. It was a familiar sight, the unmistakable silhouette of her mother, coaxed from the shadows like a lighthouse beckoning sailors home. Relief washed over Sarah in a rush, and together, she and Ryan took a step forward. "Mom," Sarah called, her voice breaking through the weight of all those fearful moments. Her mom turned then, the weariness in her eyes overshadowed only by a flicker of relief pooling within them. "Sarah, Ryan," she shouted, her voice breaking through the chaos. They rushed toward her, and the embrace they shared felt like the universe collapsing into one moment, a tapestry of joy, relief, anxiety, and love all stitched together, overwhelming in its beauty. "I was so worried. I didn't know if you two would be okay," her mom repeated, holding them both tightly. "But I'm fine. I'm safe. I'm so glad," Ryan exclaimed, his voice laced with genuine relief. "You had us scared." He pulled back, a smile breaking through his worry, but Sarah felt the weight of reality hit again. "Mom, what happened?" Before her mother could respond, alarms blared, and the lights flickered ominously. Sarah's heart dropped. "Are we in danger?" "No," her mother assured, though her expression tightened. "They're just implementing extra security measures." "Mom, you have to be careful," Sarah urged, slipping her fingers through her mother's. "But you two need to be careful too," her mom replied. "We've been through a lot already." A chorus of activity began again as medical staff resumed their posts, urgency replacing the earlier chaos. But in that moment, their family was whole again. There was a promise embodied in the embrace that anchored them, the understanding that no matter how dark the times might get, love would always lead them home. Then the nurse they had spoken with earlier returned, her expression solemn. We're doing everything we can to ensure safety. Officers are securing the building, but we need to keep all staff and visitors on lockdown until the threat is fully eliminated. Thank you for your help, Sarah's mom replied. I just want to make sure my kids stay close. They've been through so much tonight. The nurse nodded and turned to the guard, voicing instructions for the next steps. Sarah felt the tension release ever so slightly. Disaster had not consumed them. They were still standing. Together, Ryan leaned into her side. You were right, you know. We were like those heroes in our game. Yeah, Sarah replied, a smile breaking through as laughter bubbled up inside her. Except there are no capes. Maybe we should create our own, he teased back. And for a moment, lightness filled the heavy air surrounding them. In the chaos of the hospital, amidst the turmoil outside, they found solace in each other. Faced with shadows looming in the night, they realized that love, in all its rawness, could weather any storm. The phone vibrations began anew, calls and texts flooding in as family and friends reached out for news. A shared glance between Sarah and Ryan ignited an unwavering resolve. No longer bound by fear or uncertainty, they were ready to embrace the challenges ahead. Ready? Sarah asked, glancing at her mom, who nodded with a fierce glimmer in her eyes. Together, Ryan echoed, a firm promise hanging in the air. With newfound strength, they embraced the journey ahead. The world would be waiting, but they would rise to meet any storm. Each day would be a step one full of resilience, love, and connection to in the heart of adversity. They found each other, their transformation unbreakable, their bond immovable. They had faced the chaos, and together, they would rise. Now is the time for you to take charge. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and make your voice heard. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this incredible ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation and feel inspired. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.